Alright, welcome to a video of everything that goes through my mind while I paint. So I'll try to voice my inner dialogue or monologue, I guess, as I work. And I'll be live color mixing, though I don't think I'll be able to put the palette in this video, but I'll be explaining everything that I'm doing as I work on this piece. The first thing I'm going to do is make a decision on which section I want to work first. Today I only have probably a couple hours of work ahead of me, so I'll try to do one section of the face. I might try to do like this entire section, or at least kind of those eyes if I have time, and then we'll go from there. I'll be using primarily just one brush today, which is the Golden Tackling round 5.0, and I'm pretty sure that's the only brush I'll be using for most of the work today. If I had a bigger surface to work on, I would also use a cat's tongue, but for today I have just a small brush is what I will choose to work with. And at the end of the session, if I decide I need additional blending, I would use Mop 6000, also by Trekell. So let's get started. This side of the face is already it's a darker tone because I'm doing the double exposure. I have paint on my fingers and I haven't even started. So this part of the face goes over some hair, so it's not gonna be pure skin tones, it's gonna be a bit darker. So the idea, and it's not drawn well on my sketch, so I might just mix a little bit of paint to kind of refine my sketch here. But there will be a double hair as well, which is gonna be kind of like this. So this eye goes with this hair, and this eye goes with this hair. So this section of the face actually goes over this hair. So it will be a darker palette than this section, which is a skin tone over skin tone, which will be brighter and more saturated. But for this section, we'll be working in darker skin tones. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of mix my dark. I do not use true black in my pieces, so I'll just mix some raw and some Payne's gray, and right away I'm just gonna establish my darkest area. This is probably the darkest area of the entire painting, and I still don't use true black or Mars black or any type of black in my painting. And I think I took that habit because I don't want too much contrast. I feel like a true black will really pull your eye in a specific section, and if I do that, it might take away from the double effect, because the idea of the double image is that your eyes is kind of pulled in all directions at once. So if I use too much of a true black, I find that it will provide too much contrast or too much of a harsh color, and it will take away from the effect. So I make a very dark color, but it's usually a raw or what mixed with Payne's gray. That's usually my darkest color. I'm painting those two eyes at the same time. I'll be adjusting form as I go, so they are almost the same. And once again, I feel like my drawing is not perfect, so I'm just gonna add myself a little guideline here, because there'll be a shift in color between this overlap and this one. Right, so I'll go with a warmer brown. I'll just go ahead and get the eye situated. The first layer, or not layer because I don't work in layer, the first section that I work on usually takes the longest because I do mix my colors pretty much as I go. So when I start the painting, it's a bit of a slower pace because I have to mix all my colors as I go. When I do the second part of the painting, I don't have that issue, well, it's not really an issue, but that challenge anymore because my colors will be mixed already. I just want to refine my sketch here as well. I feel like I didn't do, it's actually here, a really good job when I did the drawing of the painting and establishing my zone. So I'm just gonna help future Alex by just kind of drawing this. If it works, I'm gonna be in the zone. I'm gonna be regretting that I didn't draw it. Okay. It's for future me. I gotta keep in mind future Alex. Okay. Yeah, future Alex is gonna be happy that I added a couple touches here and there. Okay, back to the eye. I usually like to do the lid crease next, and it's the same reason as the reason why I do the middle of the eye. It's just to establish my darkest colors. And with my art, the goal is not always to hit hyperrealism. The goal is to prioritize the illusion. So I will get close to realism, but I will not focus on making hyperrealism my goal. Anyway, so like I was saying, the goal is not always to hit, whoops, drop my phone, no big deal. It's not always to hit the realism, it's to get as close as possible to the illusion. I find that sometimes we get so into improving our technique and get closer and closer and closer to making things looking real that we kind of forget that sometimes that's not the purpose of art. We have real in real life. So though I do appreciate realism, one of my favorite artists of all time is Bouguereau, but I'm talking about my personal practice. It's not about hunting realism. It's really more about living in the realm of portraiture, but also in the realm of emotions and experience, I would say. I'm gonna go with the brown, and I'm gonna go for kind of a dirty gray and make the shadow of the waterline or the tear line right here at the bottom. Subtle. I don't even think I need it on the inside. Maybe a hint here so it connects the two sections. And then I'm gonna do the air quote white of the eye. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's a fairly dark color, which seems really dark right now. However, it is for the darker section of the eye. So sometimes as we paint, it's easy to forget and have the perspective. So my instincts are telling me, oh, I should go a lighter color. However, if I look at my sketch, I do need this dark of a color. So it's the same darkness here. I'm gonna put it inside, and I'm gonna blend as much as I can as I work, but at the end of my session, I usually like to take a mop brush and kind of go over all my work. I think I'm gonna bring this color in and do just a hint of a shadow here, but the rest of the eyeball I'm gonna go with a lighter tone of the same color, which is like dirty gray. Bring that here, and I'm gonna a bit more light, maybe add a bit of warmth to it. I'm gonna go play in the waterline. Yeah, I think I need to go warmer than this. A bit of how light, dark, fairly light. It's probably the lightest part of this painting actually, what is the most light. Still fairly dark. And I'm gonna go do the outer corner. One of the reasons why I really like this brush, it's really precise, but it's soft enough that it can blend without ripping off all of the paint. What I mean by that is I can kind of go over the previous paint I put down, and it's not going to take it away. We'll blend it. Obviously the idea is to put as much color down as I can, and a lot of the sculpting, what I like to call sculpting, a lot of the moving the paint around, adjusting form, making sure that all my edges are soft and very buttery. I often like to do that at the end when the paint gets a little bit tackier. Right now the paint is really wet and it's moving a lot, so I use that time to put the color where they need to go, and then after, with a different type of brush, that's when I'm gonna start playing around and sculpting it and making my edges really smooth and blend everything. One thing with my art is I like my art to look, well, good. Hopefully it looks good from a distance, but I also really like when the experience is great when you're up close. So the painting can be seen from really far, but when you come up close, you can't see this dry brush strokes or canvas groove or stuff like that. I like it to be buttery. It's the objective that I like. I like it to look buttery up close as well. And I'm gonna add a little highlight, a fairly strong highlight at the top of that eyelid. It's gonna be a very light color. I might even have like a hint of purple in it. And I think the light color needs to kind of stretch on the outer corner as well. See, I did a little mess up. I went over my dark here. It's okay. Maybe I was a bit heavy-handed there. I'm just gonna wipe my brush on the paper towel. I'm just gonna go over. Another thing in the way I paint is I don't really do individual eyelashes, and I know they look good and they're fun to paint, but I found for my work, for the type of art that I do, they're too sharp. They end up being a strong line, and it takes away from the vibration effect that I'm trying to create. So I have to say bye-bye to sharp eyelashes. And sometimes I'll do a little bit more detail in the eyebrows, but I never paint individual eyelashes anymore. I just find that it takes away from the illusion of the vibration. And that's something else that, you know, maybe it takes away a little bit from the level of realism in the piece, but it does serve the illusion. And at the end of the day, to me, the illusion is more important than realism. And just look for a bit of a reddish color, adding a bit of, and I'm gonna do the under eye. I like my ladies tired, so I often will do a bit of a dark circle under the eye. Listen, those ladies are tired. They go through a lot of life, so I like them a little tired, a bit blasé. And I'm going to use a bit of a almost kind of greenish undertone, not too dark, to kind of do the under eye bag there. But then I'm going to add something slightly lighter inside to add a bit of, so subtle and almost no pressure on my brush. And everything looks a bit sharp right now, but once again, I'm a huge fan of using a mop at the end. I kind of go over everything. One of the things I like to paint is actually that upper eyelid. So I'm gonna do a bit of a warmer color. And a little bit of a triangle here. And it's kind of attached. Slightly warmer color than the rest of the eyelid. Wants to show the shadow, but also to show the warmth of the eyelid, the transparency of it. And same thing over here. This one might be slightly different because this eye overlapped the other one, So there will be a bit of a shadow. The beginning of the, what would be the nose bridge will start showing in that corner over here. I don't want that to be too pronounced, but it will be darker, and that would also show here. Once again, this is a very dark part of the painting, way darker than a standard skin tone. And I want to add a bit of that kind of burgundy right here. And it goes under the eyebrow, and it's gonna go here. A bit of a highlight here to show off the upper eyelid. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Once again, I'll be using a blush, not a blush, a fan, not a fan, a mud brush. Thank you. A mud brush to kind of tie all the forms together. I have a little bit of a highlight here, subtle, very subtle, right over here. Okay, and I'm gonna do something that everybody loves, is a little eye highlight. This is what everybody loves it. It does bring the pieces together. It does add a lot of dimension to the eye. It's like magic. Like you add this and it's like, ooh, yes, it's an eye. So we're gonna do that right now. I'm not going to use a pure white because it's an overlapping image. So I'll be using a light blue, greenish color. I have to go slightly lighter than this though. I'm going to go one tone lighter. Subtle, subtle. Just, okay. Now, I'm kind of going to link those two together. Here's be part of the dark circle. So I think it's going to be kind of a greenish purple, a bit of a light color because it is, there's a crease here, so this is gonna go up from the crease, but it's kind of sneaky because it's also gonna blend with what would be the nose bridge on the lower form. A bit of a sneak form. Okay. Now, I always like this shadow here to kind of give the eye a bit of a lift, and it adds dimension to the upper eyelid as well. So it's gonna go from the tip of the eyebrow and connect to the outer corner of the eyelid. And this is greenish, but there's also a reddish, more red or warm area here. Just going over a bit of form, and we'll do the same thing here. So be here, and the shadow will be here. Small brush. It's like slightly on the studio. Slightly warmer version of it under. Alright. Now I kind of want to not put new paint on my brush and just slightly kind of blend what we have so far. Using the same brush. I'm going to wipe it here. Just gonna want to blend and adjust form slightly, and just make sure that the balance of everything is about right. Nothing's too sharp, and we can keep going. It made a huge difference already from the upper eye and the lower one. Just using the same brush, just going over form. Make sure everything is smooth, not too sharp, not too blended either. Making sure the two eyes are fairly similar. Make sure they're at least cousins. And this is too sharp. I'm just gonna make the shape of the eyes a little funky here. Okay. See, this is really sharp here compared to the upper eye, so I'm just gonna kind of blend this. And lower lash line, blending. Okay. And maybe here. And once again, I don't do lashes. I feel like it distracts from the illusion, but there is a shadow there that kind of is hinting at lashes. Okay, that's just preliminary blending. It's not even close to what we're gonna do later. Just form correction before we keep going. Okay, not bad. Once again, this stage when you're looking for perfection, just looking to have the paint where it needs to be. I'm gonna go with a warmer tone here, and it's gonna serve as another shadow on the outer eye. very similar but slightly warmer. And going down, I'll do the same thing here. And blending, just going over, no pressure. Okay, I think there's even more warmth here, like under that lash. And I'm gonna go back up here and work slightly on this eyebrow because I feel like it gives shape to the face. This model has really light eyebrows, so it's gonna be the hint of an eyebrow, but not too much definition. Oh, nice. I'm gonna go again with a warmer dark tone in this area. Just mixing a little bit. Oh, too red. I mixed too red. Cooling it down. Okay. Right here, attaching to here. I'm using my pinky here. It's just kind of resting my pinky on the canvas, and I'm using that as leverage for my brush. Blending with the lower form, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one, though obviously this section will keep evolving here into a full dark circle that we don't add at the upper eye. I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of a dark circle here for her, kind of her dark circle. Wiping, and the inside of the dark circle is going to be a bit of a bluish color, maybe even greenish. And go here, very sharp sharp paint, yes, sharp paint up there. So for sure I need to do some blending directly on the canvas and kind of blending it here. And now here I find it too sharp, so just reblending this here. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of contrast by doing this area right here. That is, it would become the cheekbone here, but here it's almost just the rim of the cheekbone that is right under the eye. So I'm gonna do a fairly bright color, though I do not want it to be overly saturated. So I'm gonna use a burnt sienna mixed with white, and there'll be a little highlight that comes all the way from the corner of the eye, and this is what becomes the highlight. So I'm gonna go over the existing page right here, all the way down. Almost come to the bone, ocular bone right here. And I'm gonna blend this. I could be mixing a mid-tone to kind of blend those together, but I'll just blend directly on the canvas. Quick blend, I'll reblend later. I'm gonna use the same color, a little highlight here, and kind of bring this down here. And while we're at it, I'm gonna go, I don't want to do right away that brow bone, and it's gonna be fairly cold because we have the hint of the eyebrow hair kind of going through this. So I'm gonna keep it very cool tone. I'm gonna do a little line, warmth, like if between her eyebrows, this little skin peeking through. And this is gonna be a bit of a illusion. The forehead is gonna be almost blue, and that's okay because it's the illusion that's gonna work with the hair overlay. So it seems a little funky right now, but it will all come together later. Okay, going here, I'm gonna bring it down to the brow, and I'm gonna play with the brow again now and do the hint of hair going in and out of that blue. It looks a little funky right now, but it will come together. Okay, I'm gonna do eyebrows, but just soften this section. And now we're really gonna let me do this part. I was gonna do the cheek right away, but now I'm just gonna do this little section here, slightly warmer. I'm gonna do burnt sienna with white and a hint of a warmer color. Just mixing over here. It's gonna be a bit of a warm spot here, and this will kind of mesh into the hair later. Okay, this is where we at, and I'm gonna go into the cheek with a slightly warmer color because when we go to the cheek, area, that's when there's a bit more blood. So the color needs to start getting slightly warmer. Right, we're going to close the first pass. It's starting to make sense. Once again, those are not realistic skin tone. It's a very, very dark version of the skin tone because it's going over the hair part of the face. And I feel like I need to go get a slightly bigger brush. Now that I want to go in a big cheek area, I like to use a bigger brush for this. Looking for my second favorite brush, which is Cat's Down pen. The one I have right now already has a little bit of paint on it, so I'm trying to do a quick cleanup. Oop. And now I might just roll my other brush into my paint. That means my hand will be covered. Just gonna wipe it on a paper towel real quick. Okay. So this whole surface here will be a strange mix of burnt sienna and a bit of Payne's gray to cool it down, and white to make it lighter but also more opaque. And I like to work with a bigger brush for bigger areas just to get more coverage. Once again, we don't worry about overly blending right now. We're just putting our main colors down. I think it'll go even more gray and greenish as we get closer to the mouth. And there'll be, funny enough, an earring in the way. And this area is very green. And we'll go down over here. And on the outside of the cheek, I'll go back with a brown because there will be a shadow from the jaw. That'll start just below the earring and just here. I'm gonna come down over here and all the way down this part of the face, and it goes slightly lighter. Blend, blend, blend. And I'll do a mid-tone here to kind of attach those two parts. And I understand when you look at it right now, it is not realistic skin color, but it will come together as I keep working on the face and the overlapping sections start making sense. So slightly cooler color for the chin, and almost like a purple reddish for the warmth of the chin here, which is also the bottom of the hair here that is going to be transparent on this chin. It's going to be a very, very dark lip, kind of being hinted just in that little triangle here. I might have to go back with my small brush, and we're going to do the under lip shadow. That's going to be right here, and that's going to be fairly dark and cold. And once again, it kind of lives by itself right now, but once I do this part, it's all going to come together, hopefully. The little line that I have here is actually going to be hinting the earrings going into the hair. I'll be blending that out so it's more subtle and a bit more straight, I think. Okay. I'm not even sure I want to attack this little section right now because it's a completely different color palette. I'm not even sure I want to go there right away. I'm just mixing for chin color. This one will be slightly closer to our normal skin color shadow, but not by much. I'll go here, and I think I'm gonna go with a bit more of a darker shadow here. This is obviously way too sharp, but I'm gonna once again blend this out, and I'm gonna do a fairly bright orange for the highlight of that chin, because the highlight of that chin is overimposed with the background of the painting and not the hair. And here's my cat tone brush. Blend this out. That's a red on my brush. I think this should be a slight, very subtle highlight up to separate from the chin, because we will be probably not going to paint the whole neck, but I'm just going to do that other chin tone. Is it too dark? I think it's too dark. It's probably going to be reworked later, but I like to put something down so I can blend that little line right away. See? And I'm going to bring it down, and you guys can't really see this. Maybe I can bring it down a little bit. There we go. I'm just going to bring it down here just so when I work on that section it's easier later. So this is where the fun begins, and I get a mop and I start kind of sculpting this section and start moving the paint around. So I'll be using there's two brushes that I like. I have this one which is a little dirty right now, I need to wash it, but this is actually a round, but I use it as a mop. But it's a Onyx 8010 round, size 8 by Trekell, and when it's fluffed up, it's a really nice brush to be used as a mop. And the hair is really soft, so I can go over everything really carefully. Kind of start blending all the paint that I just put down and redo my form and make sure there's no brush strokes and make sure that everything is really smooth. So I'll be probably doing this for this whole section. I'll probably blend for at least 45 minutes and kind of make everything come together. It takes a bit, it takes a while. So it's actually, well, it's probably faster to put the paint down, and then I spend a lot of time just blending, moving, adjusting, which I think is probably not as entertaining to watch. So I'll be working on this, and I'll be filming next time I have a painting session. So I'll probably let this section dry overnight, and then tomorrow I'll be working on another part of the face. So yeah, happy painting everybody, I guess. Bye.